with Misangrovu, Mondays to Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Only
to improve their service offerings, particularly catering for struggling South African consumers. We do so with the GIFTS CEO, Dr. Krishan Pillay. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Dr. Pillay.
Good evening, and thank you for having me this evening.
Talking about what it is that the financial services has to offer for struggling South African consumers, I think our starting point really should be, where do we stand in terms of a marriage of these two, in terms of a struggling South African consumer, and what is on offer currently from the financial services sector that caters for a South African consumer that is increasingly under pressure?
I think it's such a powerful question that you ask, and we understand that, more and more people are falling below the breadline. And as we talk about and we see things like inflation and cost of living increasing, we don't realize what its true impact is. We have something called that breadline margin, and we have people above it and we have people below it. And, if you look at the stats when it comes to South Africa, our Gini coefficient shows that we have such a big disparity between the rich and the poor, those who have and those who do not have within South Africa. And I think as the financial services sector, our pledge and what we try to do is to use education as an inoculation to try and create financial literacy in its most basic form to all South Africans, those above the breadline and those below the breadline, to help them understand that this is what you need to do. This is the importance of having the right financial services products, but understanding fundamentals like budgeting, and that comes through various free financial literacy programs that GIFTS and many, many other financial services sectors and companies are involved in.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the big B word that is often thrown around as if we are all supposed to understand how budgeting works, and it's as if it's meant to be, second nature to us. And the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences has also long championed the professionalization of the financial services sector. And in our conversation earlier today, you outlined it quite well to say this does not necessarily start when one is all grown up and has some sort of a kitty in their bank account as a source of income and has graduated and has, accumulated expertise. It has to start way before that. So where should the starting point be?
Well, I think your questions today are so on the money and so what South Africa needs to hear. And I think budgeting is something that we all take for granted. We think it's so simple. But how many of us actually really have a budget, and how many of us who do have a budget actually follow it? Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, for me personally, I believe that budgeting and this financial literacy needs to start at a very formative level. I think for me, I believe that children should know the importance of budgeting and money management. As young as 5 and 6 years of age, I feel parents should be teaching their kids the value of money and how important it is. And as they enter the general education space and go into schools need to have a curriculum that emphasizes the importance of money management. Because more often than not, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, financial literacy is not something that is taught to any of us.
Nope.
So what we do is we look to the right of us and we look to the left of us. And we look at everything that our family members and friends are doing and we copy that.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that. I'm so sorry I cut you off there.
No. I'm actually chuckling because you are so correct. I mean, you look left, you look right, and at times both ways could not be safe for you to cross the road when finances are concerned. And I'm particularly intrigued by a notion of starting the financial education at a foundation phase level, because in the education system, we do not know of the practicality of learning how to manage our finances. And if one maybe has to base that on how your folks do it, that may not be correct either. So how does South Africa then factor in the basic education level of ensuring that a 6-year-old is really capacitated with what they need as basic tools?
So I think for me, what I believe in is if you know better, you do better. And you only know what you know. So what we've tried to do is now South Africa has to play catch up. From a basic education, from a further education space, this financial literacy has been lacking, and especially in our households. Our parents, us, our grandparents, they never really had conversations about financial literacy and financial education with us. So that is why at the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences, what we're trying to do right now in this place to play catch up, we are trying to put pressure on our financial advisors, our individuals giving financial advice, to have the sector professionalized, meaning that we put a lot of onus onto these financial advisors to know better so that they can go into communities. They can start with their own families. They can start with their clients and start educating people on the importance of being financially savvy. Because there has to be a point at which we decide, okay, we understand there's a gap. We can't take people back to 5 or 6 years of age, but what do we do to fix it in the year now? And to fix it in the year now, we say, financial advisors, let's put pressure on the sector to make sure that they are professionalized, so that they're giving good advice, accurate advice that's going to enable the future generations to choose the right financial products and be more financially savvy.
And that's not going to be easy, Dr. Pillay, because in the current economic climate that we find ourselves, many South Africans will argue that there isn't enough left over to, number one, budget, number two, save, and choosing a financial portfolio that suits whatever is left.
You know, I think we both are singing from the same hymn sheet here. I couldn't agree with you more. And if we look at our average South African consumer, the minute things get tough, what are the first things to go? It's your financial products, your car insurance, your home insurance, your life covers. But if you look at it, your car and your home are the biggest assets that you would ever acquire. And imagine not planning for that. And another big thing that we find is people are not planning for their retirement. Simple things like retirement annuities are only thought of very late in life, and thereby putting a burden on the economic system of South Africa and just perpetuating this level of poverty. And I believe with a good education in financial literacy, and it's the responsibility of all of us. And I thank you and UFM for giving us this platform to just plant that seed today to say financial literacy starts today, and it starts with all of us. Just opening our minds up to be open to hearing about what financial literacy is and how important that simple B word is, budget.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Absolutely invaluable. Dr. Kreshan Pillay is the CEO at GIFTS, talking to us this evening in the Personal Finance feature about the financial service industry needing to improve their service offerings for struggling